Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Rich Latta here, back with another video. We're here to talk about Game 5 of the WNBA Finals. The New York Liberty won their first championship in franchise history, sending home the Minnesota Lynx in an overtime war. A lot of this was very rough basketball to watch. End of a series, both teams tired, both teams know each other very well. At this point, it's really not about the X's and O's. It's, some cliches. It's like who wants it more, who's going to get luckier, who's going to, end up with the ball on the spot where you didn't expect, who's going to come off the bench and light something up. So we got a little bit of all of that. I feel like if you are the Minnesota Lynx, you might feel like you got absolutely robbed. That was very tough to go on the road in New York City, to have to play the Liberty and the refs. Essentially, some of those calls down the stretch were just phantom calls. I thought the call at the end of the fourth quarter was shambolic, that sent Stewart to the line. The coach, Sandy Brundell, was coaching Stewart to flop, which is completely unethical in my book. But enough of that. Congratulations to my man Brooklyn Ike, big time New York Liberty fan. You might see him in the comments as D-Mac, so give him a big congratulations if you are watching this video. But man, let's talk about it, man. Like, I'm walking. My first takeaway from this is, my God, what was wrong with Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart? Doo-doo running down their legs. Just choke jobs, regardless if they won or lost. Stewart was huge on the rebounds and the defensive end. I'll give her that. Offensively, she did not have it rolling. It was looking bad for them. They started the game very slow. Minnesota just came out just looking ultimately poised, well coached. They were executing, and Nafisa Collier was putting Breanna Stewart on a grill. She owned her. She had her number, all of that. And slowly but surely, the crowd and Jonquel Jones kept coming alive with timely, finishes on the inside. Leonie Fibich would hit, big threes, including one in overtime, to kind of set the pace. And Sabrina would just throw brick after brick after brick after brick, like she was working construction. I couldn't believe the inept offense that I saw from the Liberty after just being just this machine. Every time I've seen them this season, I don't know whether it was fatigue, whether it was nerves. Breanna Stewart missed those 2 free throws before she went back to the line the first time. So it was like Nick Anderson. It was all that stuff. As I was watching it, I saw her miss those 2 free throws, and I felt so bad for her at that point, because it was just like, all right, you're playing badly, but then like you get on the line and the focus is on you. When you're on the free throw line, you're under the bright lights, and she didn't come through, and, she got a second chance, essentially. But Nyara Sabally comes off the bench like a gift from God, basically bestows the Timberlands upon her feet in New York and says, go out there and do it. I believe she had, I'm going to pull up the box score in a second, but she was averaging 2 points during the series. She scored a lot more than that. She was essentially a wild woman who came off the bench that was not on the scouting report and contributed to this supersized lineup that it seemed to give the Lynx a lot of trouble in the second half. You got Jonquel Jones, who's 6'6". You got Sabally, who's, I believe, 6'4". You still got Stewart in there, 6'4". Fibich was there. At one point, they even pulled Sabrina, and they had Kayla Thornton out there, and it was just a big, big lineup. So they decided to go supersize, and it worked for them, because Lana Smith was pretty compromised offensively. She really didn't have much, and she was getting thrown around. She was battling Jonquel Jones the whole series, and she took a really bad slam, I think, in the fourth quarter. And through all of this, Collier was excellent, and Kayla McBride was just saucing every defender in sight. And she had a chance to win the game at the end and, missed a couple shots, but she was phenomenal as well. Courtney Williams did not play well. She had such a big heart in game one, and it just didn't, work. Heidemann came off the bench. Every time she got in, it seemed like it was a negative from her, negative play or turnover, some type of huge momentum swing. She just was not ready for the moment. But this was reminded me a lot of the Lakers and Celtics in 2010. If you're into the game, you're into the drama, it was dramatic as hell and it was entertaining. But if you're looking for good basketball and all that, that was game one. That was game 4, game 3, because the shots weren't going in. So I find these kind of games interesting, especially when there are game 5s or game 7s, series deciders, because it's almost what are you going to do when everything doesn't go right? And I think you really find out who the champions are. But there was such a presence of the referees. It seemed like any call that was going to happen was going to go against Minnesota. Aside from, 1 or 2, it was very tough. I feel like if you're Nafisa Collier, and she fouled out, right? And she walked off the court, and I couldn't tell if the crowd was booing her or giving her the begrudging respect or what it was, but I felt like I saw just she's not going to win a title, right? This year. It's not going to say the Minnesota Lynx won the championship, but man, I saw a champion in her, completely outgunned. No other superstar on her team. She's got good players with her like Kayla McBride, but she's the alpha and the omega of this squad, and she's going against Jonquel Jones, the third option, who's an MVP candidate essentially. After Stewart, they basically guard Stewart and guard Ionescu to the point of submission. Completely take them out the game. Oh yeah, there's another MVP that essentially comes in and then gets the Finals MVP. Could you have given Nafisa Collier the Finals MVP? I think there's an argument, but it's tough. They don't really do those kind of things. But yeah, this was an epic series, and this was one of the best series. This smoked the NBA Finals, as I mentioned in my last video where I was talking about Game 4. But the refereeing was noticeable down the stretch, and I think if you're the Liberty, and you're a Liberty fan, you come away from this thing saying, we won it. No matter what, we figured it out. We, basically our 2 best players, they stunk it up, and we still found a way, and it was gritty, it was grimy. And this is, the first basketball championship in New York since 1973. So be very happy with that. The Liberty win their first ever WNBA championship, one of the original teams, the last original team to do so. So that is cool in itself. I had heard that the Lynx were going for 5 to overtake the Houston Comets. I kind of would have been interested in seeing that as well. But let's pull up this box score from the game here. So the Liberty won the game 67-62 in overtime. That is an ugly score. The Liberty only had 27 points in the first half, and to go for 67 points in overtime, that in a win, that's insane. Looking at this here, we got the Lynx box score. We'll start with them. Bridget Carlton was kind of forced into a couple of shots. She didn't have it going. 1 of 6 and 1 of 3 from 3. 6 boards for her, and ultimately wasn't really too effective. As I mentioned, Alana Smith, we didn't get to see the dance, that she does, unfortunately. But I thought she was she demonstrated herself very well. She made a good showing of the value she brings to the league. Second team all league defender, and 36 minutes she's battling Jonquel Jones, just way bigger and more skilled than her. And 6 points for her, 8 boards. But Nafisa Collier, 22 points, 7 boards, 2 assists. She was 11 of 23, played 44 minutes before falling out. And no matter what happened, she just got to where she wanted. She got, the inside looks, and she just needed a little bit more help, I think. And, they were up 60-58. This was their game. this was almost like it was stolen from them. And she had one other teammate that was good, that was with her, and that was Kayla McBride, who had 21 points, cooked everybody on every switch that came on her, whether it was Stewart, especially Jones, Sabali. None of them could stay in front of this woman. So Kayla McBride, hell of a game. But when you only have two players show up for you for the Lynx, it's going to be hard to win. Even if, Stewart and Ionescu are completely shut down, the rest of that team found a way. But Courtney Williams gone ice cold, 2 of 14. That is ineptitude right there. -10 on the plus minus. And as I mentioned, just nothing off the bench. Zada Lassini barely played. She's a good shooter. They had Juzaz in, I believe. That's how you say her name. I might have messed it up, but just nothing. She was just stealing minutes for Lana Smith a couple minutes at a time. Heidemann was a disaster. Even though it says +5 on there, she was getting her shot blocked. She was turning the ball over out of bounds. Tons of just like mistakes, from Heidemann. But this was Collier and McBride versus the World. And unfortunately, the World was in New York. And they said, yo, don't go to New York and leave it up to the refs. Like, they would have had to beat the refs too. And, looking at it, McBride only shot 1 of 6 from 3, but she was like excellent, like as far as like just scoring, off the dribble, cooking people, and ultimately they just came up a little short. And I feel bad for them. I feel like if you're the Lynx, like you feel like you left one out there that you could have had. New York Liberty. Let's talk about these folks here. But Nigel Amy Hamilton, only 18 minutes, 4 points. Breanna Stewart, 13 points, 15 boards. So this is all 45 minutes, 4 of 15. This was no kind of highlight game for her, but she, adds to her trophy case and, being one of the great winners of all time. And, on a personal level, like, happy to see like her not basically lose that game at the free throw line and then like have to live with that and wear that. That would, you don't wish that on anyone almost. But I think there may be something going on with Stewart. Like as far as like, let's take a look at, I'm going to pull up her joint. So she's 30 years old this year. Could she be, staring at, her prime, starting to, go a little bit? I don't know if it was just a bad game or what, because she had a couple like electric games in this finals, but through large portions of it, she was just like, I don't know if she was in her own head. I don't know what happened. Jonquel Jones, finals MVP, 17 points, 6 boards. She was just consistent. That's one thing you could say about her. Nothing they could do really bothered her because she was just too big and too strong. Whether it was Collier, Smith, anybody got switched on her, they were in trouble because she was coming through with the big drop step and the spin move, and either you're going to take an elbow to the face or you're just going to get put in jail. And, and that was the result, on one of those two. Leonie Fibich, +9, 13 points, 7 boards, huge all throughout these playoffs, and especially the finals. Like she hits that 3-pointer in overtime to really like turn the tide essentially and put them away. But Sabrina Ionescu, John Starks, take a seat. Who else has had really bad games in the NBA Finals like the Ray Allen, Game 3 of the 2010 NBA Finals. Take a seat. 1 of 19 and 5 points, 7 boards, 8 assists. So she did pass the ball and make some key assists at perfect time, especially that backdoor cut. But I don't like, this is the woman that people were trying to tell me should have been first team All NBA over Caitlin Clark. I'm sorry. No. Not happening. Like this is a performance for the ages in not a good way. All-time choke job, win, loss, don't matter. She was completely unreliable, like as a jump shooter. I think the best thing you can say about her was that she still wanted to compete. She didn't put her head down. She didn't sulk. She didn't do any of that. She still competed hard. So shout out to her for that. And she gets her first championship. And, that's going to be huge, especially, looking at how all essentially the people that are she's set to be compared to for the next, 10, 12 years between her, Caitlin, Paige, Juju when she comes in, it's going to be like, all right, who was the real best guard of this era? And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have something to say about it. And you can get a couple championships on the board, that doesn't hurt. Thornton came in and, played some timely defense, 21 points. But this was Sabally. Like, I don't know what happened. Like there have been other finals games. I was talking to one of my friends, James, and he, had mentioned, remember that Leon Poe game from 2008 when he came out the bench and scored 21 points against the Lakers. And what she did was she was this unhinged kind of person who basically was not involved in the game flow, where everybody else felt like they were struggling. She wasn't, because she hadn't been getting tons of burn like that. So she just got sent out there. She was relatively fresh, and she was just full of energy, finished around the rim, made some free throws, and ultimately earned like playing time in overtime to decide the game. They do not win this title without what was her name? Nyara Sabally. They do not win this title without her. College teammate of Sabrina Ionescu, of course. Satsu Sabally, her sister. You saw her after the game, but this is a classic series, man. And I would love to know what you think about it and everything. Did Minnesota like who won this one? Did New York win this, or did Minnesota lose this? Because much of the game I felt like the Liberty were playing not to lose, and Minnesota was playing to win. They kept coming back, and they ran off to that big lead. And I don't know what happened, except when I look at the box score, only two people showed up largely. So it's going to be hard to win a championship with two people in a talented WNBA. If you don't have at least three people showing up, someone coming off the bench, you're not going to win. And that's so unfortunate, because I felt like Napheesa Collier was spectacular throughout this whole series. Just one of the best performances I've ever seen in a final. So, heart goes out to her. But that was game 5 of the WNBA Finals, a hugely successful season for the league, and it basically, I think this is ground zero for a lot of new fans to appreciate the game, and also whether you came in because you were watching Caitlin Clark, whether you had watched for a long time, or you're a Laps fan or somebody, like this is like, all right, the line in the sand. There's a great product here. And there's only going to be more talent. And I think these women played for their respect tonight. And, it was great. It was great to watch. Hell of a series. And would love to know what you think. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Y'all been showing me crazy amounts of love. Pushing me up in the subscriber count. I would love to get to 1,500 after this. Hook your boy up. Let's change a couple things around here. So if you ran into me for the WNBA content coming through with Caitlin Clark stuff, I am going to be talking about the women's college basketball stuff. So we're going to keep this rolling and see what it turns into. And I think that I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Interacting with a lot of people in the comments that otherwise wouldn't have, came to me via, my music or anything like that. So if you're sticking around as well to the channel, you might as well check some of that stuff out too. So anyway, my name is Rich Latta. Hope you guys enjoyed the game as much as I did, and I'll holla at y'all. Peace. One lifetime.